Pope John Paul Van Dam asks, when did you move to LA, and was it because of the underground hip hop scene, or was there another reason? Um, Lucky, thank you for the cheers. Very much appreciate it. Um, or was there another reason? Did you, Dave, and Rift all move at the same time? How do you think your career musical output would be different if you stayed in Chicago at all? I moved to LA in 2004. Now, my story is this. Um, the fun part of the story. Well, okay, my intention was I had graduated undergrad. I had did a year of grad school in like this really kind of dumb grad school program that just trains you to be like an HR person. So like you just take these dumb classes about like people management and shit. It was called not human resources, workforce education is what I did a year of grad school in workforce education, and I got through that year and I was like, this is stupid. And so what I chose to do at that moment was to pivot towards continuing what I started in undergrad because I had my degree in psychology and I had mentor professors in this group called the Association of Black Psychologists. But what I didn't do in that first year of grad school, I didn't take the GRE. I just didn't fucking feel like it, so I didn't do it. That's why I ended up in the dumb grad school program. But I was like, you know what? I do want to follow up with my psychology degree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this stupid workforce education program. I'm going to go live in California because my dad lives out here. I'm going to go live in California for a year while I take the GRE and get ready to join my mentor professor in Missouri. He was teaching at Mizzou at the time. So I I applied for summer classes after that first year to get a refund check. And with the refund check, instead of buying books and paying tuition, I bought a Nissan Altima and I put all my things in it. And I drove to California because I was thinking, oh, I already have plenty of money in loans. So this money that I'm not using to go to classes, I'll also just, it'll just add to my loan money. What I didn't realize is that if you didn't actually take the classes, they want that money back right now. They don't want you're not going to put that in your loan repayment package. No, if you didn't actually go to classes with that semester's money, they want that money back right then. But I didn't know that at the time. I was in LA already before I even realized that. The fun thing about that trip, me driving with all of my belongings from Illinois to LA, was that I had only learned how to drive about a year before that. Like I was like 24, 25 before I even knew how to drive. So when I first left from Illinois to drive all these interstates, and these were MapQuest years. So I had to print out 17 pages of directions at the computer lab in order to know how to get from Illinois to LA. And about an hour into me driving this, I'm just driving. I'm about to drive for 2 days. About an hour in, it starts raining. And so I'm like, okay, it's raining. I'm putting my windshield wipers on. And then the windshield starts fogging up. And I am so new to driving, I don't know how to do a defrost. I had no idea. I was just like fucking freaking out. Like, wait a minute, I'm driving and I cannot, like, suddenly I cannot see. I don't know what to do. And luckily I was poking around in buttons till I found the button that did the defrost thing. So I was safe and I wouldn't die. But that's how new to driving I was, is I didn't know which button to press to defrost the window. So I drove from Illinois to LA, and I've told this little bit of the story too. Part of the reason there are two albums that will always live with me forever, and part of the reason is when I was on this drive in this car. This car had an aftermarket CD player, and what I didn't know until I got on the road was that when this car got sufficiently warmed up from driving, whatever CD you had put in this CD player, because it was aftermarket, the parts in the CD player started to swell up and the CD wouldn't eject. It was Pioneer, lucky. And whatever CD you put in the morning when the car was cool, you had to be prepared to listen to that same CD the entire day. So there were two albums that I trusted. This was 2004. It was two albums that I trusted to put in and have on all day because it was two full driving days. One was They Might Be Giants' 2004 album, The Spine. And two was Mad Villain. So I had a day with The Spine and a day with Mad Villain. And those two albums will live with me forever. So I moved here. I was only supposed to be here a year. I was in my job was working for AmeriCorps. I had an AmeriCorps placement. I was in AmeriCorps Vista. Vista stands for Volunteer in Service to America. Which I can say now, all these years later, is a complete fucking scam. Complete scam. You get placed with a nonprofit organization, and technically, you're on call for them 24 hours a day. But get this, no matter where you work in the great country of America, in 2004, the AmeriCorps Vista monthly stipend was $900. You were on call 24 hours a day, and the most, and you would earn whether you worked 4 hours or you worked 60 hours in a week. You earned $900 in a month. So basically, you were like a slave for a nonprofit. And if you were with a cool nonprofit, they would be understanding of that and not work you too hard. I worked for a nonprofit that only had 3 employees, and one of them was out on maternity leave. So I had to work all the time. And then about 6 months in to my employment at this place, the person who was on maternity leave left the organization, and they needed to hire somebody else. And they could have hired me, and they did not. And it made me mad because I knew how to do the job, because I've basically been doing the job. So I was supposed to be doing that for a year before I went and joined my mentor professor in Missouri. They didn't hire me. I said, fuck it. And I got a job. And that basically diverted my entire life. Ended up getting married, having a child. Like I just live in California now. Now, in the question, Pope John Paul Van Dam says, was it because of the underground hip hop scene? Now, that's not why I moved out here, but that was something that was always in the back of my mind when I thought about coming to California, because I had visited plenty of times and I was familiar with the Project Blow, and I knew that there was like a way to try to seriously have an indie rap career out here in LA. When I was still in my college town before I made that drive, like the year before that was when I seriously started making songs and trying to record stuff. I was transitioning from being like a hobbyist freestyle rapper to trying to figure out how to like put some music together. I started like performing around campus and stuff, and was being known not just as like the guy who freestyled everywhere, but now I also had some music. So I'm like, okay, when I get to LA, I will go to the Blow and I will see if I can figure out how to put this together. Um, so that was part of the pivot too, is that I sort of embedded myself in Project Blowed and learned from AC Alone, Abstract Rule, Bus Driver, LA Cool. Badru is who ran the Project Blowed record label office. And every day after my job, I would just go to that office. And I was basically interning there without an official title, but I was learning how this record label and these independent artists, I was learning how they, like, what mechanisms they were putting together in order to make a career. So I learned how they were placing new albums at record stores, at Amoeba, at Rasputin Records. They were, Eastside Records in Arizona, Access Music in San Diego. They would get their new albums in and they would call these places and they would sell them 10 copies, 15 copies, 5 copies to all these places. I learned how they were booking tours. They were booking around a lot of like weekly events that were happening in Arizona. I forget the one. I forget what it was called. The one in Phoenix. There was one in Arizona. There was one in San Jose. There was one in Seattle. But basically, you would figure out how to like book a tour with these anchors based on these weeklies. And then I went on tour with a couple of their artists too, and was selling merch for them. Because there was nothing I enjoyed more. There was nothing I enjoyed more than like being at the place where people were exchanging money for independent rap music. That was my favorite place to be in the world, was behind that merch table. Even if it wasn't my stuff, just being there for the transaction between people paying cold hard cash for independent rap music was thrilling. It was thrilling for me. And I just learned a lot doing all of that. And slowly but surely, I learned how to start to put the career together. So then I started Thirsty Fish, me, Psychosis, and Dumbfounded, who we ended up in the Adventure Time episode battling each other. We started a group that was our generation of Project Blow. We were like some of the new dudes who were getting known. And then we started the Swim Team, which is our greater collective. So Customer Service was doing it right before I got there. So those were all the homies. No Can Do, Kale, Psychosis was in that too. Joe Sue. I forget everybody's name. But they were doing it right before we got there. Because the Blow was always in generations. You had the Aftermath generation, and you had like the Acid Rain generation, and you had like the Customer Service generation, and then we were like the Swim Team generation. So that again became part of the pivot too, because I figured out how to like start to put an indie rap career together in like a real way with the Project Blowed. Like and subscribe, homie, friend. It's free. Stop playing.